What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am super excited to be joined today by the art representative of the stars. You may know some of the people he represents, just people like Ryan Ottley, Ryan Stegman, all the Ryans, the Daniel Warren Johnsons, Nick Dragotta. Mr. Felix Lewis here. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Doing great.
Awesome. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join me.
Well, no problem at all. It's I have a spare hour, however long this is going to be, and we've been writing each other, and yeah,
Yes.
happy to join. I know you're a giant Ryan Ottley fan, as we discussed, and
I
you
am
introduced.
literally and figuratively a giant Ryan Ottley fan.
Well, you introduced me, as the rep to the stars, and certainly Ryan Ottley is a star, but I'm actually no longer his rep.
Oh man, okay.
He no longer uses an art rep because he doesn't sell his art. So this has
That's
been
right. He's
this
doing all the Battle Beast stuff and all of that. He
he's
changed it up, didn't he?
yeah, he's keeping it all. So I worked with Ryan for 10 years, and by the time I started working with Ryan, it was the toward the it was definitely the back half of Invincible.
Yeah.
Maybe the last 20 issues, 20, 30 issues. And we did great selling that art. I mean, every single page sold. But you have to
Yeah.
remember, Invincible circa 2015, 2016 isn't what Invincible is now in 2025.
Yes.
And at that time, as is the case with most of these artists, and I'll be the first to tell you, it is an indictment on the industry because this is ass backwards, where they make the majority of their income off their original art sales.
Yeah, it's
At that
crazy.
time, the original art sales were hugely important for Ryan. But, in the last few years, with the advent of the Amazon adaptation of Invincible, it's blown up even bigger. I mean, it was a huge comic book property on its own.
Yes.
It's this giant multimedia juggernaut. And I couldn't be happier for Ryan. Well deserved.
Yeah,
Devoted
same
so much
here.
of his life to Invincible, and now he is reaping the rewards. But as a consequence of that, he no longer needs to sell his art.
This is
So
true.
he's been holding on to it, and we talked about this even before Battle Beast came out, that he was planning to keep it. He did not want to sell it. So in a situation like that, he really has no more need for an art rep. But of course, I wish Ryan nothing but the best. We're still friends. We still have dinner together,
Awesome.
and maybe someday he decides to sell his art again. We'll see. But now, uh, he wants to keep it. That's absolutely his right. I encourage him to do so. He doesn't need to sell it. And yeah, I just it was just an awesome ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wish him nothing but.
It's a double-edged sword because I'm like so happy for him because I've seen where he came from. I was chatting with him back before he broke in. There used to be a forum called Digital Webbing where all the artists would get in and hang out and
That's digital webbing is no longer around.
no, well, they have a Facebook group now, but yeah, there was a big forum, and that's where I
The
met
old
him.
school message board.
Yeah, old
Yes.
school message board. That's where I met him. That's where I met Stegman and a bunch of other people that have gone on to do great things, before they actually broke in and before they had their first published work and everything. So, yeah, the double-edged sword part is like you were saying back then, Invincible as a comic was popular, but I could afford the pages back then. Now
Do
it's
you,
up
do you
there.
do you still have the pages that you bought?
Oh yeah, every
Good,
one of them.
good. Hey,
Yeah. Yeah, I have some pretty crazy ones too. I'm on the other side of my monitor. I'm looking at the page splash of Nolan and Thaddeus and Mark flying through the middle of the Trilomite planet and destroying it. Yeah.
you have to send me a scan of it after we're done
I
here.
will.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
As they say, they're not making any more of that. So yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah, and then
look, I don't know how much of your audience is aware of original art. So I'll just say, I, like I said, you introduced me as the rep to the stars. Thank you so much. Um, they weren't all stars when I started repping.
no,
I've been doing this since 2013, but 2014 is when our site went live. And most of these artists, they were unknowns. Daniel Warren Johnson is huge down there. He may be as big as it gets, but I discovered him off DeviantArt.
yeah,
What he was doing at the time was he was doing shows. He would draw a zombie portrait of you. That's his humble beginning.
I remember that. Yeah,
But the way the comic book is created is an artist has to draw the art, and traditionally is pen and ink on paper, and that paper artifact obviously has huge collectible value to collectors. And I'll just jump ahead and say that I have been a comic book fan, collector, reader for over 40 years. I mean, like going to the shop every Wednesday.
I figured you were, and that
Yeah.
was going to be my first question to you. So let's explore that a little more.
Okay,
So
but having said that, I believe original art is the pinnacle. It is the peak of collecting. It just doesn't get any better, doesn't get any nerdier. When
definitely,
you hold that original in your hand and you own art, you love it so much, you're not letting any of it go, despite, I'm sure, the multiples of it's worth now versus what you originally paid for it. You're still hanging on.
exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
there's an emotional connection to it that, without getting too, over the top about it, this is the act of creation right here, that the artist touched this paper. Anyway, it is, at the same time, it's not a cheap hobby. It is not a necessarily easy hobby to learn, to navigate. So I encourage everyone to do their research, take your time.
For sure. Yeah. So your beginnings, you said you've been an avid comic book collector and consumer now for over 40 years. So was the art always something that really attracted to you, or were you just drawn in by the stories as well? Or was it just comics in general
Comics
that
in
you've
general.
been?
Comics
Yeah.
in general. I had favorite artists, but if you're asking about original art, I didn't discover that until much, much later.
Okay.
But I was always a comics fan. I tend to follow creators, writers, and artists over characters. Um, and I came up in the 80s, which was a real golden age of creativity, of independent comics.
Yeah.
And those were my favorite books. And, if you look at the artists I rep now, it's really represented in that group. We're not super big two heavy. And even if guys are working on big two now, they all have indie roots.
Yeah, you have a lot of variety in there. I was noticing that. I was trying to think when I first contacted you, it was many years ago because I reached out to you for some Jeff Shaw paybacks pages. Because when I discovered his work, I was like, I know I told you this in the email, but it's like, how is this guy not the top guy on every title right now? Like, why aren't more people talking about this guy? It just blew me away. Like everything he does, everything he's done and continues to do just blows my mind.
He's Marvel exclusive now,
Yeah.
and he's doing great work for them. He's got a big project coming out. So,
What did they
he's a great
gave
fit.
that? What was the term they used? Is it the Stormbreakers or what?
Yeah.
He was amongst that group
Yeah.
of creators that received that title. So
I truthfully, I think he's beyond that.
yeah.
But it's nice, and definitely accept that honor.
Was he another one that you discovered very early on?
Yes,
Yeah.
very early on.
Yeah, that's gosh, just what a special thing. Like when you approach artists about representing them, is it strictly based on your love of their work?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
that's a primary criteria. It's not how popular they are, how hot they are. how commercial their art is in that moment. It's how do I respond to that art?
Yeah.
I like that art. Do I want to collect that art for myself? Uh, and then beyond the art, I want to know them as people. Who is this artist as a person? And so each and every artist I have met in person, uh, and it's sort of a vetting process, not just for me, but for them too.
Yeah.
Are we going to vibe? Are we going to get along?
It's incredibly important because the indications are in the title. I mean, you are representing them. If you're going to represent somebody, like getting to know them as a person, to me is a very important factor in that.
Well, like I said, I've been a comic book fan for so long that when I got into this, it was really an extension of the hobby. And as such, it's got to be something I enjoy. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It can't be something that's going to give me a headache or stress. I mean, that's, it's not what I got into this for.
What was your first piece of original art that you purchased?
So, I had gotten like doodles and sketches at shows, but nothing significant. And it, like real original art, published original covers and pages, didn't really come onto my radar, even though I had some exposure to it. And I'll tell you a story which will drive people nuts. Uh, Around 1990, 1991, I was in college. I came back for the summer, and there was a show, a local show called Americon, and it was in San Jose. And the organizer was named Dan Vado. If you know who Dan Vado is, he's the publisher of Slave Labor Graphics. Do you remember? Sure, that's an 80s
Yeah.
publisher. I think Johnny the Homicidal Maniac was their big book.
Yep.
But he was also a show organizer. He put on a show in San Jose called Americon. And every Americon would have like one big guest. One time it was George Perez. One time it was Mike Grell. And this time it was Todd McFarlane.
Oh.
And I was set up to just sell some comics I was kind of like a pseudo dealer, just mostly just getting rid of stuff. Guess where my table was right next to?
Right next to the Todd father.
Yeah. And he brought with him art. It was like a stack of art, yay tall. It was covers and pages. And I remember he had Spider-Man covers, amazing Spider-Man covers. They're about $400. And the pages were like $80, $100.
Yeah.
And I just saw them, and that's cool. And I had about, like I remember I had $100 to spend, and I bought it was either a Cap 100 or an ASM 129, something like that. I was really, really happy about that when I had all this art like right there. But it was there. It didn't really register. Flash forward a few more years, and my girlfriend, who became my wife, she was a student at Cal, Berkeley, and she was working part-time in a law office. And I go pick her up after work, and one day she goes, come in with me. So, okay. And she took me into this lawyer's office, and on the wall was a framed Glenn Fabry painting.
Oh, wow.
A Hellblazer cover. And I never, even though I had seen original art, like, at the shows on Todd McFarlane's table, I'd never seen it presented like this, framed up on a wall. And it really took my breath away. But I just thought, okay, well, this is something only a wealthy attorney can afford. I didn't like, oh yeah, I got to go collect this now. I saw it. It was in a lawyer's office. It was framed up on a wall. I guess my first reaction is it is inaccessible. As a side note, that lawyer is Steve Morger.
Oh, okay.
Who is a well-known collector, but also he was the rep to the stars. He repped guys like, he still reps Frank Cho, but also Travis Charest, guys like that.
Yes.
And Steve and I became friends, and great guy. But so that was that. So your question is, what was your first piece of art? So my first real piece of art happened around 2002, 2003. I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and Steve Rude and his wife had their own booth. And I'm a giant fan of Nexus, Steve Root's Nexus.
Oh
I was
yeah.
a giant fan of Steve Root's art, and he was, one of my absolute favorites. So I started chatting with them, and they were so nice. They were so gracious. Uh, and they were talking about, they were raising funds for his animated project, and they were offering commissions. And the highest tier commission was a 24 by 36 painting. Now, keep in mind, I had not bought any art before. The only art I had were, like free doodles, basically. And I jumped straight to the highest option because I was rooting for them and I wanted to support their animation project. And I had no idea art or values or anything. And this was the most I had spent on anything in my life outside of a condo and a car.
Right.
But I was really happy to do it. And I was excited for this experience.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just
Flash forward about, I can't remember, 6 months to a year, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Finishes the painting. He sends it to me. I open it up, and that's when it kind of clicked. That's when it clicked. And that's when I had been collecting slabs.
Mm-hmm.
And I just about, it was all about the art at that point. I sold all the slabs and just went into art, and I haven't looked back.
That's amazing. See, do you still have that Steve Root original?
I do.
Commission?
I do.
Dude, so cool. I just had him on a few episodes ago, and yeah, he's just phenomenal. Like, to own a piece of his work has to be just something so special.
Amazing, amazing talent.
Yeah, especially something original like a commission. What is the piece of? May I ask?
Nexus,
is it a Nexus piece?
Nexus, yes. So it's an oil painting, and
Awesome.
I've since bought pages and a cover, actually a couple covers from the part of the series that I love so much.
Yeah, and he's still working on getting the animated series going all these years later.
I wish
something.
I wish him the best. It's obviously a challenging environment, but the design still works. I think it has that classic timeless quality to it. And
Well,
I hope they get their break. I hope someone does, pick it up.
Yeah. That's the hard part is he's so hands-on, but he does need help. Like, he can't do it all himself. So I know the last, when he was on the episode, he put out the call like, hey, I need help with this. Anybody that has the skills, trying to get a good animation team and everything to back him up on it.
Well, truthfully, I think that's a big reason, it hasn't been made, is because he is that hands-on, for better or for worse. I think, for him for this to see the light of day and happen, he has to have some control over.
That's the hard part.
That's the tough part. And it's not necessarily the right thing. I mean, who's to say? Maybe his vision is realized with another producer, or maybe they just completely fuck it up. So I don't know, but I think he'd rather it not happen, but then for it to happen, but he have no control over it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know of Steve, I think you're right. Yeah. I wanted to circle back because I also have a cool McFarlane related story. So listeners of the podcast will be bored to death because I've told this story more than once, but my first job at the age of 16 was working for a shop that Todd co-owned here in Washington State. Yep.
Spider's Web. Yeah.
Yep. So I was a patron of Spider's Web, and then I ended up working there for 2 years. And that's where he stored all those amazing original Spider-Man pages and everything else.
You want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
I learned this many years after the fact. There's another local collector to me who was also at the show who bought a cover, ASM 328. It's a Spidey and Cap on the cover.
Yes, iconic one.
Right, and he didn't have enough money to pay for it all, so he gave them a deposit, and he'd send a check to Spider's Web, and Spider's Web would then mail him the cover.
Yep.
Which is what happened. But what Spider's did is they took that cover and they folded it in half, and stuck it in an envelope.
Oh man,
So
it wasn't me.
there's a
I'll
crease
tell
running
you,
through the there's a crease running through the middle
I
of it.
didn't pack that one up. It wasn't me.
So you say we don't. Oh, I guess
What I did do, however, was spend way too much time on every lunch break I had, pulling down a giant brown paper bag full of originals and looking through them over and over. Yeah, that's what I did do. But I was very careful with them. I would never have thought to fold one in half.
so. You were around 16 at the time, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked there from 16 to 18. Yeah.
I thought you were a lot younger than me, but you're
Just turned 48.
you're younger than me, but you're a few years younger than me. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It was cool getting to work there and see all that stuff up close. And man, I wish, looking back too, because that was before I was collecting original art, I would have put every spare penny I had towards that stuff because it was so affordable. Like the pricing on that
Now
stuff
look,
was,
I'll be honest.
you know,
I have a really nice collection now, but I started in my mid 30s.
yeah.
And I don't look back like, damn, I wish I bought pages at Americon, where I discovered earlier was picking pages up in the 80s,
Right.
90s. Because the truth of the matter is, I probably would have sold it, to
Yeah.
real life stuff like a car or a house, get married. So I think, my original art collecting journey started when it was supposed to. And I don't look back with any kind of regret. Like, why didn't I start earlier? If I started earlier, bought it, and then sold it, that would be a real regret.
That would be some real regrets right there. Yeah. Yeah. And I know people who have had to sell stuff and fell into that position because of the same reasons you're talking about. And they definitely have major, major regrets in that regard. So we already talked kind of about how, it can be a daunting task for somebody wanting to get into collecting original art. What advice do you have for new collectors that are thinking they want to start dabbling in original art collection?
Number one, start off with being a comics fan. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We are at a point now where, people are in comics as slabs, not necessarily because they love the medium or they love the art form, but because it is it's a tradable collectible.
Yeah.
And that's part of why people are involved. That's their hobby, is buying and trading and selling and flipping, whatever. If you bring that same mentality to art, it's going to be tough. I don't recommend it, although for better or for worse, that's becoming more common.
Yeah.
What I say is, if you love a book, if you love a title, if you love an artist, buy art for that reason.
Yes.
This is the ultimate form of what you love. Hang it on the wall, enjoy it, but don't buy for speculative reasons, for investment purposes. Buy what you love, and you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. If you love and appreciate something, you can't go wrong. I mean, anyway, it's easy to get sucked into the values,
Yeah.
but that can be a trap. Read comics first. Read comics first, and
Yeah.
know what you like, who you like. Yeah.
It's funny. I knew that was what you were going to say. And that's what I tell everybody, whether it comes to collecting comics or collecting original art. It's like, buy what you love. I wasn't buying Ryan Ottley pages because I thought one day there was going to be an Amazon animated Invincible series and it was going to get popular. I always followed Ryan and was rooting for him and wanted to see him do well. And I wanted to buy the pages because I loved his work and wanted to show him support. I think that's important. I mean, same with Stegman. You know, I did Ryan Stegman's first website for him, and he paid me in pages from his first published work. So I have a bunch of those because I always just loved Ryan's art. I'm like, oh, just, you know, give me some pages, whatever you think it's worth, you know. So I think that's a great piece of advice. We are in that market where people are looking at original art almost like stocks, it feels like.
Yeah. Uh, you know, Daniel Warren Johnson, you know, we started selling his art, Space Mullet, Ghost Fleet. You have to be a hardcore Daniel Warren Johnson fan to know those titles.
Yes.
And those pages were like $80, $100. And now his page is like $1,000, you know? But so, you know, I acknowledge that this is pricey hobby and it's not for everyone. And do not go into debt buying art. You know, don't buy it on your credit card. You know, this is definitely something you do with any disposable income you have. Um, but you know, if you find the next Daniel Warren Johnson, like you did, like with Stegman and Ottley, you know, yeah, go ahead and support them. You know,
Yeah.
uh, buy that art. And, you know, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, as somebody who draws, it's always just been that.
I noticed that you have an absolute Batman on the drawing board back there.
Yeah,
That's you?
I'm working on an absolute Batman facing off with Wolverine.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, just something I was inspired to do. Yeah, I draw, you know, I've been drawing a long time, but it's something, you know, my life took a different path as far as my occupation. I wanted to be a professional comic artist, and then life had other plans, and I couldn't be happier with where it went, but I still make time to draw and practice and everything. So, and that's why I gravitated towards the original art, was because I wanted to see how they were doing what they were doing. Like, a lot of people who draw or get into comics don't realize like how big they draw the pages a lot of times, you know, that's getting reduced and everything. And so for me, it was like getting the pages and seeing as funny as it sounds, seeing like the flaws too, like seeing where they corrected with whiteout and that type of stuff was really cool. I don't think a lot of people understand the process until they see the original pages.
Yeah, and there are a lot of fans who have talent. You know, it's you know, it's coming from the collector world. There are a lot of collectors who are pretty decent artists themselves.
Yeah.
It's really something.
Yeah, I think we gravitate towards it because we're hoping we're going to absorb some of that mojo through handling the pages that have been touched by the greats, you know.
Now, you know, you're kind of joking, but to see an original art is different from looking at the published art. You know, that's 8x10 and it's colored.
Yes.
Like the actual hand inked original art with all the corrections and everything that you say on 11x17. That's something that can be studied. And I don't know a single
100%.
artist who hasn't looked at original art and learned something.
Yeah. And a lot of the artists will do like preliminary sketches on the back of the board that you can study, and you can see a lot of times if they use blue pencil, you can see the roughs and everything. So there's a lot that can be gleaned from the originals that we don't get to see in the original pages. I wanted to ask you about, because I feel this is another guy that like people weren't really, at least I'm even speaking for myself. I didn't know, and I kind of feel lame about it, but I did not know just how amazing Nick Dragotta was until I saw Absolute Batman. Absolute Batman was my first time discovering his work. And now I've gone back and got everything that he's done over the years. Like, how did you and Nick get together? Was that another, like, you knew about him way before he gained this kind of huge superstar popularity?
Yeah. And the work was east of west. So I started
Yeah.
working with Nick right at the beginning, east to west, even before number one had come out. And it was pretty simple. I guess the origin of Felix Comic Art, I think people, you say, oh, my audience is going to get bored. This is a story I've told a million times, but I'll just make it. The quick version is I discovered the artist Nick Dragotta through his book, The Manhattan Projects. And actually,
Okay.
I actually saw his art first, and I don't buy art just for art's sake. It has to be from a book I like. I'm
Right.
a rare exception for Patera's art because I really liked it. So I bought that art, and once I got that art in hand, I said, I got to read this book. And that book was The Manhattan Projects. And The Manhattan Projects to this day is one of my top 5 reads of all time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so I got to know Nick, and we became friendly. He was a young guy. He was hungry, and he's a super nice guy. I mean, basically, anybody who knows Nick will confirm. He's very charismatic, and I was rooting for him for his success. I wanted this young guy to do well. It felt like his art was being sold for too cheap, and I wanted to build his market for him. And so I started with him, and I didn't really figure I'd become a full-time rep. But once I started working with him, 2 things happened. Word started getting around, so artists started coming to me. And at the same time, I'm scanning the landscape for different artists. Nick Dragotta instantly was on my radar from the early stuff I was seeing from east to west. I wanted to meet him.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, it was quite easy to meet him because he was local to me, just a total
Nice.
local to me. So we met, vibed, got some food, and he joined. However, in order for East to West to happen and for it to come out on a timely schedule, he had to draw that digitally.
Yes, I remember him talking about that.
So there was no art to sell. So why would I rep a guy who doesn't have any art to sell?
Yes.
It's because I actually liked his art that much. So flash forward 10 years to now Absolute Batman, and it's the biggest thing in comics
100.
I've experienced in my lifetime as a 40+ year regular
Yes.
comic book shops. And here we are. So you're from Pacific Northwest. You're from Seattle. Are you a fan of the Mariners? You're a baseball guy?
I am a fan of the Mariners just because that's what you do when you're here. I'm not a huge sports guy,
Okay.
but I used to collect sports cards. So
All right.
I used to watch baseball quite a bit back in the day.
I'm a Bay Area guy. I grew up loving 2 teams, the A's and the Giants. Okay.
Right.
The Giants won the World Series in 2010 after a lot of close calls, after a lot of heartbreak for fans. Okay.
Yes.
And that front office, that team had been through a lot, but especially that front office. So when they won the World Series, I did it all. I went to the 2 games that were in San Francisco. I did the parade, and I went to the big at town hall city hall where everyone, they give the speeches.
Yes.
So all the players, the coach, everyone has a few things to say. Then it was the general manager's turn, his turn. And he said 3 words when he got up there: "We deserve this." I actually feel the same way,
That's awesome.
he deserves this. All right. And really, so do I. I stuck with him for 10 years when there was no art, but I believe in him. I believe in the talent. And guess what? If Absolute Batman never happened, okay, we'd still be working together,
Yeah.
because he's an incredible talent.
Well, and he gives you a lot of credit in what you've done for artists in being an art rep for people. I've heard him talk on many interviews about how much that means to him, and kind of how you revolutionized the game as an art representative. I wanted to ask you, like, as far as like being an art representative, what do you think your role is if you had to sum up what it means to you to be an art representative, like your objective in helping the artist? I feel like you're trying to support good people in getting what they're worth, would kind of be a part of it. But in your own words, what do you feel it means to be an art rep for these guys?
to get the maximum value for their art, anything that they want to sell. And let's be very clear. I don't bully or force, cajole any artist to sell their art. If they want to sell it, we're going to get the maximum we can. And we accomplish that by promoting the artist's work, building up interest in their art, and therefore building up their market, and create the right conditions for the art to do well and succeed. But also have a long-term plan, a long-term view. You don't want to. If all you do is follow me on a surface level and just come like, oh, this guy just hype,
Right.
like it's all bullshit. If that's how people take it, that's how they take it. I will tell you, like everything I say, I mean. And I want this art not only to sell well in the moment, but to maintain its value. That's why I don't bring on just any artist who's hot in this moment. Even though we can all make money, like right now, I want these artists to have long careers, and I want that art to ideally maintain its value. And so, as long as I'm repping these artists, I am going to do my best to keep interest in their work high and elevated. And it's only if you do that, everything else will sort of take care of itself.
Yeah. You were one of the first art representatives, I believe. Didn't you have I vaguely remember, didn't you have advertisements in some image books and some comics back in the day?
Yeah, that
was kind of a new thing that nobody else had really done.
We still do. We maintained that ad campaign. It's we pick our spots. The first year we sort of flooded all the issues. I mean, I think we were like 100 issues our first year, and we're up. But over the last 10 years, it's like another 100 issues. So even though it was so many issues early on, we kind of spaced it out since then.
Are you finding with this Absolute Batman stuff that as soon as it becomes available, it's going instantly? Are people buying entire issues?
Yeah.
Individual collectors just grabbing man.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right off the bat. I know that can be frustrating for collectors who don't want or can't afford complete issues. They feel like they don't have any opportunity at pages. And I tell people, please be patient. I mean, Nick is going to be on this book for at least another couple of years.
Yeah.
There are only really so many people out there who are capable of paying for what these complete issues are going for. And there will be pages coming. There are going to be issues that are going to get broken up. There's ultimately going to be plenty for everyone at these prices. Okay, so we dropped issue 1 at prices that nobody could believe, and they all sold out. But those prices, they were cost prohibitive for majority of collectors. So we've tried to make other fun things available. It's not an original art page, but it's still a cool, call it a souvenir.
Yeah, you did a lot of cool stuff recently.
Limited edition prints that are signed and remarked, stuff like that.
Same thing is happening with anything that Daniel touches, especially the Absolute Batman annual that he just did and everything. I know that's just anything from that's going to go or has already gone.
That's so complete.
Yeah.
That's so complete for a record.
What was the record? Just to let everybody know. If you're able to disclose that. Over a certain amount.
Yeah, it was in the 6 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though.
I'll say this. The record has since been broken by Absolute Batman 13, which has
the Catwoman.
Yep. And Harley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because people were crapping on that Absolute Batman when the initial sketches and character designs were coming out, and then
I told Nick not to worry.
They quickly changed their tune.
That big blocky emblem, everyone is. I told him not to worry. As a matter of fact, the fact that everyone's talking about it right now is a good thing.
And that was like the coolest thing, because when I initially saw that design, I was like skeptical, but I'm like, I want to read the book, you know? And then
want me to tell you, my journey with Absolute Batman?
Please.
So Nick had finished East of West and was, working on things here and there. I think he did like an ASM issue. He did like some X-Men covers, whatever. Just sort of biding his time until the next right thing came along. He had done a Batman black and white story, which to this day still maybe his most impressive art yet.
Yeah.
And that kind of served as a calling card. That served as an unintentional audition. Like, he showed what he could do, what he could bring to Batman. And I believe, you'd have to ask the DC people this, that got him on their radar. And sure enough, he called me and he said, I've been approached by DC and Scott Snyder to work on Batman. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is, your career is just headed to another level. I couldn't be happier with you. I was thinking regular Batman, like New 52 Batman. I was already so happy for him. Just, continuing on as a Batman guy. A little while later, he said, it's not regular Batman. It's actually something new. We're coming up with something new. And he was telling me about what they were planning on doing. And in my head, I was like, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's fantastic. I was saying that to him in my head, like fuck, man, this sounds like some Elseworlds bullshit,
Yep.
Like he's not doing regular Batman. That flash forward another couple of months, and it's San Diego Comic-Con. This was San Diego Comic-Con 2024. And for a lot of reasons, it was one of the best San Diego Comic-Cons of my life. And I've been going since '89. Definitely one of the best San Diego Comic-Cons for Felix comic art. We were just having a blast. And I thought that it would culminate like Daniel Warren Johnson winning 2 Eisners, the 2 biggest Eisners, best writer, artist, and best series for Transformers. I thought that was it. That was the icing on the cake. And it's not going to get any better, because I didn't expect him to win at all. I thought they nominated him for Transformers, a goofy toy property. There's no way, like, Eisner is so serious and kind of snobby. There's no way he's going to get it. Like, the nomination is more, and the fact that he won blew our minds. I couldn't be more thrilled. Well, guess who was also with us at the, hanging out with us at the Eisners? Nick Dragotta. We're just hanging out with Dan at his table. And after Dan won, he's got, he's double fisting his trophies. Nick goes, hey, you know what? Come up to my room. I want to show you. After we went up to his room, what does he have to show us? He brought me the completed Superman #1 issue, all the original art.
Wow.
I'll tell you right then and there. I saw that art as I was flipping through it. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, it clicked. Like, I am so glad this isn't regular Batman. This is something that's going to blow people's dicks off.
Yes.
I just was overwhelmed. Like, what I thought was, that the biggest thing that happened that night was Dan winning the 2 Eisners. No, it was getting to see this art in person. And that's when the wheels started to turn. Like, this is something truly special.
Yeah.
And even at that moment, I knew that this art should be very, very valuable. This is not average Batman. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I priced this too high and nobody buys it, but I believe it deserves it, and the comic wouldn't be released for another 2.5 months.
Right.
And during that time, just kept getting more involved with Nick, this Batman, and what was going on. And it was more obvious that this isn't just a gimmick book. Like, okay, there's a giant hulking Batman. He's got shoulder pads with spikes on him. Like, that's it. That's the gimmick. No, they had a whole plan around
Yes.
this title. I said, we're gonna go for it. We're really gonna go for it at this drop. And maybe we fall flat on our face. I'll have no regrets because I don't want this to go too cheap. And wouldn't you know it, it's sold out. I don't. And as much as everyone had sticker shock or said, "Oh, you're too fucking greedy," I don't think anybody regrets buying any of that art now.
No. No, and when the big reveal of what the purpose of the chest emblem was really hit people after they shit on it and were making fun of it.
We talked about McFarlane earlier. Okay.
Yes.
And I draw this connection. All right. And if you were a Spidey fan up to that point, you were reading Steve Ditko, you were seeing John Romita Sr., Ross Andrew, guys like that. They all drew Peter Parker Spider-Man fairly similarly,
Yes.
real, more or less realistically, or at least realistic human proportions. And then you have McFarlane come along, who now draws Spidey in this totally exaggerated manner with the crazy contortions and this wild spaghetti webbing, and the fans just, it hit them, right? Like they completely responded to it. I think in a very similar way. That was a 30-year legacy character that was kind of drawn similarly throughout. Now you have Batman, who's an 80-year legacy character, and again, always drawn kind of the same. As Bruce Wayne, very suave. GQ, James Bond, 007, as in a very sleek Batman. With one exception, you had the dad bod old man Dark Knight, but outside of that one instance, you never saw a Batman like this before. So this giant hulking Batman with the shoulder pads, with the ears that come off are knives, the chest emblem that's an axe, I think that is tickling the same part of the nerd brain that McFarlane Spidey did.
100%.
Yeah. And I believe we're seeing it, because when was the last time you saw this many kids and teens excited about a book?
It's the first time that I can remember in a very long time that people, I feel I've known several people that got into comics now because of seeing Absolute Batman and wanting to know more about it.
The great thing too is, like we said at the beginning, a lot of people are into comics for the gamble of it, I guess, right? The flipping.
Yeah.
I think Absolute Batman 1 is on its 11th printing.
Yeah,
because people are just coming in wanting to buy it just to read it. They don't care that it's not a first print. They just want to read the damn thing.
Yep.
That is as good a scenario and a situation to grow a fan base organically as you could ask for.
For sure. I wanted to ask, did you have any influence or encouragement on the fact that Nick drew it traditionally? Did you nudge him and go, "Hey, maybe draw this one," or did you already know before you saw the pages that he was intending to do it traditionally?
No, it's a case by case basis.
Okay.
Because he had been working digitally.
Yeah.
And there are some things that, look, truthfully, there's not going to be that much commercial interest in the art. So if it saves you time and energy to draw it digitally, yeah, just go for it. But this, you'd have to be a moron not to draw it on paper.
Yeah.
And he knew it. He's always known it. So he'd been sort of prepping himself for this. Like the Batman Black and White story was his first thing on paper.
Okay.
Then he did Ghost Cage, which was his own creator, own mini, three issues. He drew that on paper. Now he's playing with various techniques and sizes, ultimately settled on traditional 11 by 17 pencil and ink for Absolute Batman. And just a perfect storm. I mean, he had fans who were clamoring for his art, but there was none to be had because, he'd been working digitally. And, we could have sort of gone the, what's called a monoprint or artist proof route, but I refuse. I refuse. Now prints, monoprints, whatever you want to call them, that is art. I'm not going to deny that.
Right.
It's not original art. And I'm not going to pretend that it is or try to convince people that it is. I'm not going to play any part in helping to legitimize it. So that's why even though I rep Nick for 10 years and there was no art to sell, there was still opportunity to make money if we wanted to do artist proofs. And if Nick had wanted to do it, he's welcome to go join another group that will do it.
Yeah.
As it turns out, he's an art purist too. He's a collector himself. And, he's a appreciator of art. And so he agreed, like he didn't really want to do that either.
Do you find that because some artists do a hybrid workflow where they'll do their roughs and some of their process digitally, and then they'll print it out on the board and do the finishes on the board? Do you find a difference in the appeal of that to collectors, or is it pretty much the same
Not
as
with
long as
not
they're
with modern collectors, because that is
okay?
that is the prevalent working method now.
Very common, right?
Yeah. And as long as the artist worked on it, touched it, they hand drawn.
So even if it's inks over digital pencils, it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Not that much of a difference. It's not. I mean, look, the perfect scenario is pencils and inks, but that's rare and rare. So people accept the digital layout and hand inks.
Yeah.
But I think there is still a very distinct line between that and an artist proof.
Oh yeah, huge, definitely. Well, as we get close to wrapping up, one of the last things I wanted to ask you is if you had to pick a favorite piece in your own personal collection, are you able to pick? Does one thing spring to mind pretty quickly, or do you have like a top three?
Yes.
Okay, you got one.
Yes.
Hit me with it. What is it?
It's kind of cheating, but I'll give you a longer answer. But the one piece that's the most meaningful to me is a portrait of my daughter that was done by my friend James Sheen.
Oh, awesome.
So that would be, the one above all others.
Yeah.
If there's a fire to have to take one piece, it's not the most valuable piece, not by a long shot.
Right.
It's most valuable to me, so that'd be what I'd rescue. But if you're talking about like published comic book art by artists, yeah, I couldn't answer. I could not answer that because, any answer I give you is going to be different tomorrow. I love so much of it.
Just out of my own morbid curiosity, maybe semi-jealousy, depending on the answer, do you own any Jack Kirby originals in your collection?
I do. It's
Nice.
not, most of us collectors have a comic art band's gallery, and my Kirby art isn't on there. That's not like the spectacular Kirby art, but I do have my examples.
Oh man, I'm going to have to get on there and check it out. That's so special. Felix, man, I could talk to you forever, dude. We got so much in common with our love of original art and just our love of artists in general.
We have an idea who sent that cover from Spider's Web, but I'm not gonna say.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. We just know it wasn't you.
I got an idea. It's probably the guy that got me fired. If he's listening to this, there was a new guy that came in and was talking crap about me. So I'm going to say it was probably that guy.
Sure.
Yeah, it's lost to the annals of time, though. We'll never know. Felix, I want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know the best places they can follow you online. I know you're heavily active on your social media outlets and everything. You've got a website.
Number one, my website, felixcomicart.com. And if you scroll to the bottom, there is a section where you could sign up for a newsletter. Number one, by far, that's what I encourage people to do. Otherwise, I'm on socials on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just look up Felix Comic Art. I hate social media. I wish it would all go away.
You and me both, brother.
Yes.
It's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
Just sign up for the newsletter.
Perfect, my friend. Well, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on in the future. I know there was plenty more we could have talked about, but I also know what a busy guy you are. So I appreciate you being here today. Hang out with me for a moment while I give my spiel to everybody listening.
Sure.
Everybody, if you found the podcast and you're listening, I don't really need to tell you where it is. I appreciate you guys. If you feel inclined to like, subscribe, set notifications, all that good stuff. If you want to do a review on Apple Podcasts, you can. We do have a Patreon if you want to give a little extra support to the podcast. There'll be some exclusive content on there for you guys. But in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.